Hello everyone, Zhrey here, and I'm back with another video, and this time we're heading into Castle Nathria to take a look at Sire Denathrius on heroic mode. First of all, this will be a warrior point of view kill on Sire Denathrius. My current item level is 204, and that also includes some PvP pieces being equipped. You can also live track my stats in the lower right corner of my screen, and this tracker interacts with all buffs and debuffs during the whole encounter. Alright, let's have a look at what talents I'll be using. The two first options that are most viable and used right now are War Machine and Skull Splitter. Both of these are used, but in this run I will be using Skull Splitter and not War Machine. This talent works well as a filler in your rotation, and especially when you rage starve during certain moments in the fight. The second talent is Double Time. This gives you more mobility, better swap potential, and another source of rage income if you should need it. Third talent is Massacre. This talent basically gives you a head start into execute range by making it to 35%. The fourth talent is Second Wind, which basically gives you extra off healing if you don't take damage over 5 seconds. Fifth talent is Warbreaker, which makes sure to apply Colossus Smash to more targets if you're about to cleave or AoE. The sixth talent is Avatar. Avatar is basically giving you 20% more damage for 20 seconds, but not only that, it's also super important because it interacts with the legendary power Signet of Tormented Kings, and this is currently by far the best legendary for PvE. In our last row of talents, there are two viable talents for us, Anger Management and Ravager. If you play Anger Management, you would usually pair it with War Machine, but in this run I choose to play Ravager and combine it with Skull Splitter instead. Ravager replaces your Blade Storm, does damage at target location, gives rage income on damage, and has a 45 seconds cooldown. Ravager also interacts with Signet of the Tormented Kings and is also super important in your build. Now, just a quick look at my conduits before we head into Castle Nathria. My soulbind is Nadia the Mistblade, and the conduits I'm using are Ashen Jugger for more Condemned crit, and Inspiring Presence for a more effective rallying cry for the raid. Alrighty, enough about that. Let's pay Denathrius a little visit. The first thing you need to know is that when you start this boss encounter, everyone in the raid will get a debuff called Burden of Sin. This debuff starts at 5 stacks, and to remove 1 stack you need to get hit by the other ability called Cleansing Pain. This ability is a frontal cone ability that Denathrius does repeatedly during the first phase of the fight. Be careful though, because everyone who gets hit by Cleansing Pain will also spawn an ad, and this ad will have to be killed as soon as possible. The next ability to look out for is Blood Price. This ability does more damage the more players in the raid have the same amount of Burden of Sin stacks. That's why, ideally, you would want to clean half the raid first to 2 stacks, and then the remaining second part of the raid down to 2 stacks after. Keep in mind that it's probably a good idea to rotate healing cooldowns for Blood Price. Random players will also be targeted by Night Hunter. This is an image which will spawn somewhere with a red line connected to a player and charge at them after 6 seconds. Here, other players have to run into the red line between the image and the player and help soak the damage. If nobody helps soaking, that player will die from the impact. However, classes with immunities can go out to the raid and solo soak these with their respective immunities. Next up is Ravage. Denathrius basically fills a huge portion of the room with AoE damage. Save your mobility to move at this time so you don't get left behind, but don't move too fast either. If you move too fast, a bigger portion of the room will get filled than initially intended. I recommend having a gateway ready and just safely use it after Ravage has been casted. When Denathrius reaches 70%, he will go into the second phase. Here, it's super important that everyone has reached 2 stacks of Burden of Sin. If you have 3 or more stacks, you will be deemed unworthy and basically die when you go into the second phase. However, Classes with movement amplifiers such as Death Knights, Shamans with Ghost Wolf or Night Fae abilities will be able to reach Denathrius without dropping any stacks of Burden of Sin, and you can also have a friendly priest throw a life group to you to reach Denathrius. When you enter phase 2 of this encounter, Denathrius will spawn 4 adds to the north of the room, 2 adds in front of the mirror and 1 add on the left and right platforms of the room. When they die, they will release a volley of anima which knocks you back if you get hit by it, so have awareness around when you kill the ad and try to dodge the volley. Next ability to look out for is Hand of Destruction. Here Denathrius pulls everybody into melee range and creates an image of himself which will explode after 6 seconds. Here everyone has to run through the mirror to avoid the explosion and then move back through the mirror to get back to the ads afterwards. Denathrius' last ability in phase 2 is Massacre. Here there will be huge red stripes spawning where Remonia is about to slash through in about 2 seconds, and it's basically for you just to keep your eyes open and dodge these. Just try to time it so when you kill off an ad you don't need to dodge both the volley of anima and Massacre at the same time, cause that can get quite messy. Remonia will also target 3 random players with Impale and strike them from a pattern from 1 to 3. These players will have to move so that Remonia's Impale doesn't hit anyone in the raid, preferably in a straight line on either the left or the right side of Denathrius. Players hit by Impale will take around 20,000 physical damage and bleed for 15 seconds afterwards. If players get targeted by Impale after they walk through the mirror, they should wait out the Impale on the other side and then walk back through the mirror after it's done. Most guilds normally do the second phase of this boss with only 2 sets of ads. We ended up doing it with 3 sets of ads when we were progressing. When Denathrius reaches 40% health, he will teleport into the middle of the room and enter into phase 3. Any remaining ads still alive will also teleport to the middle of the room and will now also apply a healing reduction debuff for 15% for each ad. Now in phase 3, there's a couple of things that we need to look out for. First off is the ability Shattering Pain. This ability does a strong knockback in the end of the cast, so make sure to position correctly so you don't get knocked off the platform. Random players will also be targeted by Fatal Finesse, which is a huge red circle around the targeted player. 5 seconds later, this will do about 14,000 shadow damage to anyone within 9 yards of the targeted players. This also leaves behind a small red pool. This pool will explode for about 25,000 damage after 10 seconds, and to avoid the explosion, players need to soak the pools by standing in them. During phase 3, Denathrius will keep casting Ravage from phase 1, which will cover portions of the floor, and this will ultimately be your enrage timer for this boss. He will also cast Hand of Destruction and Massacre from phase 2, so deal with these abilities, position correctly for the knockback, and soak the pools, and that's pretty much it. You're done, Denathrius is going down. That's it. Thanks for watching everyone, and hope my Sire Denathrius heroic guide can be useful. If you enjoyed my video, don't forget to like and subscribe. I will be posting videos of both guides, mythic rating and high rated arena gameplay later. Thanks for watching everyone, and see you next time.